Well, I'd like to give an explanation from genetics. According to this theory, we are attracted to people who have different types of genes from our own. This is because the immune system gets stronger if different types of genes are combined. In other words, a woman is more likely to have a healthier baby by choosing a man whose genes are different from hers. Now let me introduce one study that supports this theory. Klaus Wedekind, a Swiss researcher, carried out an experiment called the sweaty t-shirt study. He conducted the experiment using 49 women. The women smelled t-shirts previously worn by 44 unknown men for 2 days. Those women were then asked to indicate which t-shirts they were most attracted to. As you can see in the figure, the upper bar is about 1.5 times longer than the lower bar. That shows us the women were more likely to choose the smell of t-shirts worn by men who were most genetically different from themselves.
What an interesting experiment. What Megumi is saying is that according to this theory, genes determine our preferences in choosing a partner. Thank you, Megumi. Now, let's listen to what Beth has to offer.
Okay, I'll introduce a theory from biology. Helen Fisher, an American researcher, says chemicals in the body may cause love. She compared parts of the brain of people in love with those of people not in love. She found that a lot more dopamine was released in the brains of people who were in love. Dopamine is a chemical which is produced when we do something exciting or enjoyable. It plays a key role in controlling people's moods and body movements. From this result, Helen came to the conclusion that we are literally on a high when we are in the initial stage of falling in love. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the next stage. After the first stage of passionate love, the levels of dopamine eventually start to decline. During the next stage, a chemical called oxytocin plays an important role. Oxytocin is produced when we feel a connection with others, like kissing someone or hugging a child. When oxytocin is produced frequently, couples feel closer to each other, and their relationship can last longer.
So, in short, Beth is saying, chemicals make people fall in love and make love last for a long time. We have just heard 3 theories from different research fields that provide different viewpoints on love. Which theory do you think best explains why we fall in love? One thing we know for sure is that, like the title of the famous song says, we can't help falling in love. A world-famous structure stands in Barcelona, Spain. It has been under construction for more than a century, since 1882. It is an odd-shaped church named the Sagrada Familia, funded only by donations from church members and admission fees. It has taken many years to construct. The architect who designed the church is Antonio Gaudí, 1852 to 1926. He took over the head architect's position in 1883, when he was just 31 and almost unknown. Gaudí did not stick to the original plans. Instead, he changed the design drastically. Without Gaudí, the Sagrada Familia would be completely different from what it is today. Gaudí was born into a craftsman's family in Catalonia, Spain. When he was a child, he was in poor health and was not able to play outside. Instead of running around with his friends, he had to sit still and alone. He spent most of his childhood observing the nature around him, such as plants, flowers, and insects. With his keen eye and strong curiosity, this experience had a great influence on his art. Besides the Sagrada Familia, Gaudí designed Parc Güell, Palau Güell, Casa Mila, and other places in Barcelona, the state capital of Catalonia. His highly original designs inspired many artists, such as Picasso, Miro, and Dali. Having a strong Catholic faith, Gaudí devoted the latter half of his life to the construction of the Sagrada Familia. He wanted to create a church that was structurally perfect, harmonious, and beautiful. After Gaudí's death, the Sagrada Familia continued to be built, but Gaudí's designs and models were no longer used. They were burned or destroyed in the chaos of the Spanish Civil War. Instead, Gaudí's pupils drew the designs based on what they had heard from Gaudí. Construction of the church is still being continued today by builders who try to imagine what Gaudí had in mind. At first, they said that the Sagrada Familia would take at least 300 years to be finished. However, the church organization announced that the church is to be completed in 2026, 100 years after Gaudí's death. As the Sagrada Familia becomes more famous, it gets more donations and admission fees. Advanced technology has also increased, the pace of its construction. Between 1984 and 2005, 7 of Gaudi's works were declared World Heritage Sites by UNESCO. Among them was the Nativity Facade in the Sagrada Familia. It was completed in 2000 with the sculpture of 15 angels by a Japanese sculptor, Etsuro Soto. Soto was born in Fukuoka in 1953. At university, he majored in sculpture and became a part-time art teacher after graduation. One day, at the age of 25, Soto suddenly felt an impulse to carve stone for no particular reason. His passion made him leave Japan for Europe, where there is a strong culture of stonework. He visited Paris first, but was not satisfied there. Looking for another destination, he happened to get on a train to Barcelona. Otherwise, he would not have seen the Sagrada Familia. It was not so popular with tourists at that time. As soon as he saw a lot of stones piled up there, he felt the impulse to carve stone again. He repeatedly asked the head architect, one of Gaudi's pupils, to let him carve. Finally, he was allowed to take a test and was accepted as a full-time sculptor. Soto has been working on the Sagrada Familia for more than 40 years. As he carves there, he thinks of why Gaudi made the Sagrada Familia in the way he did, and for what purpose. Gaudi wanted to create something that makes us happy, Soto says. Gaudi was happy when he spent his younger days surrounded by nature. Therefore, he thought, nature can make us happy. He thought of nature as a message from God. He also believed that the most beautiful forms can be found in nature. In fact, the interior of the Sagrada Familia looks like a forest with columns that incline like branching trees. Soto adds, Gaudi created the Sagrada Familia, and through his work on it, he became a great architect. As for me, I've wanted to carve stone since I was young. Through carving stone, I think I've been looking for myself. Now I can say, carving stone has created what I am. The last words Gaudi said to his craftsmen before he died were, "Let's make much better things tomorrow, folks." With Gaudi's will in mind, Soto continues to carve stone with his colleagues in Barcelona. You will need to prepare a small foot warmer or a hot water bottle to warm yourself when you enter the air raid shelter at our house, because it is very cold inside. A blanket is also necessary. Make sure you take matting. 2. December 8th, 1944. I really feel sorry for you, hearing how your hands get cold and cracked because of the cold weather and water. In winter, whenever you use water, make sure you dry your hands thoroughly and then rub them until they get warm. December 11th, 1944. These are letters written from a battlefield by a husband to his wife in Tokyo during World War II. The writer of these letters was a Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, a commander on Iwoto. He wrote these letters from the battlefield, which was burnt like a sea of fire by the U.S. forces. Iwoto is a small flat island of 23.73 square kilometers that lies some 1,250 kilometers south of Tokyo. It is a barren island with no rivers or ponds. However, it was one of the hardest fought battlefields of World War II.